In one of the most shocking moments of the R. Kelly trial so far, an alleged victim describes a scene in which he's engaged in a sexual act with beloved superstar Aaliyah. This is obviously a difficult topic to speak on for so many reasons, but let's get into it. My name is Jamahl Kersey and I'm a criminal defense attorney in San Diego, California. And in this video, we're discussing details of R. Kelly's ongoing trial, including a sexual encounter with the beloved Aaliyah. Before we move forward, make sure you like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. If you get something out of this video, please share it with a friend. Be sure to leave me a comment about what you think of the case so far and how you see it playing out. R. Kelly's on trial in Brooklyn, New York for federal charges for racketeering and violating the Mann Act, which prohibits the transportation of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution, debauchery, or any other immoral purpose. In the prosecution's opening statement, they told the jury this is a case about a predator who for decades used his fame and popularity in order to target girls, boys, and young women for his own sexual gratification. The accusers who have taken the stand so far have told similar stories of having sexual relationships with Kelly at a young age. They've described a series of rules like calling Kelly daddy and asking him for permission to eat or use the bathroom. They've described episodes of intense physical and sexual abuse for breaking these rules. 6 alleged victims described being abused by Kelly while they were minors. There have been details of being forced into unwanted sexual encounters, sometimes with strangers. An alleged victim, presented as Angela, was a background dancer for R. Kelly. She testified that the singer started sexually abusing her in the early 90s when she was 14 or 15. She met Kelly through a person named Tiffany. Tiffany took her to an apartment with 2 other young women, and Kelly was there with a few other men. She said the group was in the common area for about an hour before Kelly went into a bedroom and the ladies followed while the men stayed behind. Angela said she was invited to the room, and when she went in, she saw one of the ladies undressing and the other ones at stations around the room. She went on to say Kelly asked her to climb on top of him. She said she paused initially because she was startled, but she did as she was told. She testified that Kelly had intercourse with some of them, but had some sort of sexual contact with all of them. Angela had dreams of being a singer. She said she spent a lot of time with Kelly, either at his apartment or at a studio in Chicago. She said she stopped going to school when Kelly gave her and a few other girls an ultimatum. They were either going to school or they were going to sing. Regarding the alleged abuse, she said that she didn't want to have sex with Kelly, but felt like she had to. She said he told them they had to pay their dues. That was a requirement to be around him. Paying dues was sex. She said Kelly told them to recruit new talent as well. Angela said Kelly introduced her to Aaliyah in '92 on Aaliyah's 13th birthday. He told her Aaliyah was the next hottest wave coming out of Detroit. Sometime later, Angela, Tiffany, and another girl became Aaliyah's background singers. Eventually, they went out on tour. Angela recalled a time that she was playing a pranking game when they decided to prank Kelly. They went to the back of the tour bus for the prank. Angela said she slightly opened the door and saw Robert and Aaliyah in a sexual situation. She testified that Kelly was on his knees with his head between Aaliyah's legs. She said she immediately closed the door. She never brought it up to Kelly. Everyone will recall that R. Kelly married Aaliyah. At the time, he was 27 years old and Aaliyah was only 15. It was said they got married in order for Aaliyah to get an abortion. Kelly's former tour manager admitted to bribing someone he knew at the welfare office to get a fake ID for Aaliyah so they could get married. Aaliyah is one of the Jane Does in this federal case against Kelly. Now, there are 2 sides to every story, and a person accused of a crime by the government has the right to make the government prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. That is exactly what we have here. R. Kelly has pled not guilty and denied all allegations against him. He has exercised his right to go to trial, making the government present their case in front of a jury, with the jury ultimately deciding whether or not he's guilty. At this point, under the law, he's completely innocent unless and until he's proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And the defense has their side of the story. Kelly's lawyers have claimed that the interactions with Kelly were consensual and the alleged victims had a choice to leave the situation or call the police. When you're attacking the other side's witnesses, it's either going to be an issue of credibility, perception, or bias. In this case, the defense seems to be based on attacking the credibility of the alleged victims, pointing out the inconsistencies in their stories and attempting to expose them as liars. They've characterized the women as groupies. They argue that Kelly treated the ladies lavishly, providing them with gifts, trips, and shopping sprees. As a gentleman, he always opened doors for them and stood if they entered a room. Kelly's defense calls the allegations a mess of lies and asserts that these were individuals who knew exactly what they were getting into. The defense argues the accusers are women who became resentful, angry, and even spiteful after their relationships with Kelly were over, and that they've taken advantage of their situation for media attention. They've described the accusers as financially driven, bitter fans with an agenda, and that some of them enjoyed the notoriety of being able to tell their friends they were with a superstar. Even with the credibility attacks, the defense has a big challenge to overcome. When you have multiple alleged victims saying more or less the same thing, are they all lying? During cross-examination of an accuser, the defense questioned, "You chose to pick up the phone every time he called. You could have chosen to get up and leave. You consented to having sexual relations with him every time." A problem with this theory is that it doesn't exactly comport with the reality of child sex abuse victims. Child sex abuse victims generally don't just get up and leave. They yield to the abuser who's in a position of power. They don't call the police or 911. They don't just come out and tell. The way these things are typically discovered is the child starts acting out in school or at home. An authority figure such as a teacher, a babysitter, or even the parents notice a change in behavior. After questioning, it's then revealed that a child has been subjected to sexual abuse. It can be extremely difficult to draw this out of a child. Oftentimes, a child is scared, embarrassed, felt like they did something wrong, or may not want to get their abuser in trouble because they love them. As it pertains to R. Kelly, at the time he was an international star at the height of his fame. One can only imagine how difficult it would be to speak out against a man so powerful and famous as a child. The defense still has the opportunity to present their case, including putting R. Kelly on the stand to testify should they so choose. One of the most fascinating aspects of this case and story is the public's perception of R. Kelly. There's been a whole movement to mute R. Kelly. He's been deemed a monster. His songs no longer get played on the radio or in the club. To many, it's as if he never existed. But there are fans and supporters who say Kelly has done nothing wrong and maintain his innocence. R. Kelly is one of the most famous entertainers of all time. He's a prolific songwriter and singer who's got writing credits on the soundtracks of our lives. He's entertained and inspired so many people over the years, such that for some, it's seemingly impossible to view him as a sexual predator, so they continue to defend and support him. The stakes are certainly high, as Kelly could face decades in prison if he's found guilty. Leave me a comment below with your thoughts on the case. Do you think the alleged victims are lying, or do you believe their testimony? How do you see this case playing out? Thanks again for watching this video and supporting my channel. Again, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, peace.